The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News is brought to you by Flow.
In the headlines, the island records another homicide. A gas station burglarized and burnt, and 150 policemen in COVID isolation.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Tuesday, the 14th day in the month of September 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I am Marlon Clovis. Thank you for joining us. The island has recorded another homicide. Police officers responded to a shooting incident at Odlum City, Monte Dorcas on Monday evening. The victim, Debrio Philogence, a resident of Jacmel, was shot multiple times to the head and face and was found lying in a pool of blood. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding his death. Station Officer Fernando James tells us more.
On September 14, 2021, at about 10 minutes to 7 p.m., the Babonneau Fire Station received an emergency call for a shooting in the Bois-Patat area. Upon arrival, law enforcement were already on scene and had the scene safely secured. Apparently, a young adult male about 20 years old was found on the scene. A medical practitioner was already on scene and pronounced the patient dead upon arrival. The entire scene with victim was left in the care and management of law enforcement.
On Tuesday, August 14th, the Drugs Prevention and Misuse Act was amended in Parliament to decriminalize a maximum of 30 grams of cannabis for personal private use for adults. Prime Minister Philip J.P.S. says this is just the first step in a wider process.
It's an entire process where we're going to deal with the cannabis industry generally. But what we're doing this morning is we are decriminalizing the use or the use of small quantities of marijuana, 30 grams. That means that no longer will people be charged or arrested if they're in possession of 30 grams or less of cannabis. That doesn't mean that we are opening the floodgates. What we're doing is that we are removing the burden on the legal system of having to deal with one joint or so. That basically is what we're doing. And very soon we're going to be back in the Parliament with legislation to deal with the cannabis industry generally, to deal with the cannabis industry for use on export, for use in health purposes. So today, just one step in the process.
What would you like to say to those who have been arrested in the past for such?
We are going to officially apologize. In fact, last week we passed a bill where we expunged from the records anybody who was convicted for use of small quantities of marijuana and also for COVID offenses. We think that was in a different era, a different time. Our system is overloaded, and we're going to cause a halt to that right now by ensuring that people do not get imprisoned for small quantities of marijuana.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belma George is exhorting the cooperation of the public as she indicates that the island is still at a very critical stage in the fighting of COVID-19.
From July 25th, 2021, we note 4,433 cases at an average of 90 cases per day. During that period, we note 40 COVID-19 deaths and COVID-19 related deaths with a case fatality rate of 0.9%. Females account for 60% of the deaths. The average age of the deaths is 66 years. At present, we have 2,567 active cases in country. The daily infection rate for the past week was 67.9 per 100,000 per day and an average of 123 cases per day. In relation to this new wave, from July 25th, 2021, 4,433 persons tested positive for COVID-19. 52% are in the age group 25 to 49 years and 58% of the cases are female. The majority of the COVID-19 cases are from Castries, Gros-Islet, Vieux Fort, and Babonneau. Based on the contact tracing data, the majority of the cases diagnosed are related to workplaces and spread between families. We have not yet peaked, and we continue to note increases from the past week and increases in the number of deaths. To date, from the positive cases diagnosed in country, less than 2% have been fully vaccinated. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs continues to work to strengthen the public health system and manage the increased COVID-19 cases. We are working closely with the Minibus Association and the commercial sector to strengthen measures to reduce transmission at that level. We continue to ask the public to work with us and exhibit responsible behavior to manage this fourth wave. Let us all take personal responsibility to keep ourselves and families safe.
The CMO reiterated that it is imperative that a greater section of the population get vaccinated if we are to make a dent in fighting this fourth wave.
Present, we have available both the Pfizer and the AstraZeneca vaccines free of charge in country at the various wellness centers and the vaccination sites. Vaccination remains the most effective public health measure in protecting persons from developing COVID-19, with severe forms, complications, hospitalizations, and death. These vaccines have been proven to be safe and effective. We continue to urge the public to access the various sites to get immunized at the soonest, and to also encourage your family and friends and colleagues to get immunized as well. With the high level of community spread noted in country at this point, we continue to advise the public to remain vigilant, adhere to the protocols that are put in place to keep you safe. These include regular hand washing, the use of the face mask in public places, avoiding crowds and persons with respiratory symptoms, and keeping frequently touched surfaces clean.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, opposition leader misses another sitting of Parliament. Parliamentarians tackle the issues of vaccines and the workplace, and drug amendment bill is passed in Parliament.
The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News was brought to you by Flow.